Tonight, on the campaign trail, the Sask Party and the NDP go toe-to-toe on issues around public safety and policing. A look at how smaller cities could have a big impact on the outcome of the October 28th election. And the city of Regina is officially getting a new and more expensive aquatic center.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, October the 10th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. With just over 2 weeks to go in the election campaign, the Sask Party was talking today about its plan to deal with crime. And as Adam Hunter reports, the NDP was defending its own plan for public safety.
Flanked by the recent Ministers of Justice, Policing and Mental Health and Addictions, Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe outlined his party's plan for addressing crime and dealing with those struggling. Moe says if elected, his government would amend legislation that would grant police authority to shut down nuisance properties and give more authority to police officers to deal with vandalism and intoxication on public property or in places like shopping malls. He also recommitted to the Marshal Service, which will bring in 70 officers once operational. Moe also reacted to criticism from the National Police Federation, which represents RCMP officers. It says the Marshal Service is not needed.
The Marshal Service is going to work with the RCMP and Rhonda Blackmore. So let's be clear about that. The Public Sector Union, the NPF, is going to advocate on behalf of what they feel will, essentially make for more officers and more union dues, and let's be that callous about it.
Moe also criticized the NDP's platform on public safety and claimed the NDP wanted to legalize drugs. NDP leader Carla Beck says that is a lie.
Mr. Moe pretends he wants to run on his record. I've seen him do everything but. I've seen him run from his record. I've seen him point fingers at other places. I've seen him come up with desperate lie after desperate lie about us and our plan. We've been very clear about our plan. I'm very capable of speaking for myself and what our plan is.
Beck says her plan is to cut the Marshal Service and reinvest the $20 million into hiring frontline police officers and mental health and addictions supports. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
Both major political parties have been spending time outside Regina and Saskatoon, and that's because voters in smaller centres could play a bigger role in the outcome. Jason Warwick explains.
Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe was recently in North Battleford announcing tax cuts for people with disabilities. NDP leader Carla Beck was in Prince Albert promising to reduce gas taxes. Both leaders campaigned in Moose Jaw recently on the same day. There's still a lot of campaigning to go, but already Scott Moe and Carla Beck are spending a lot of time in places like here in North Battleford, in Prince Albert, and in Moose Jaw, those mid-sized cities. That's because some observers say the Saskatchewan Party's support in rural areas is solid, and the NDP has its core base of support in the cities of Saskatoon and Regina.
If the NDP is going to make any kind of move towards both a much bigger caucus or the potential of forming a government, then the seats in PA and Moose Jaw, the Battlefords, Swift, Yorkton, all those kinds of places become much more important to the campaigns, because they really do become the kind of battlegrounds.
Another political scientist says this phenomenon is not unique. Mid-sized cities also played key roles in recent provincial elections in neighboring Alberta and Manitoba.
I think there are a lot of parallels to be drawn between Saskatchewan and other provinces, and I think there is a comparison to be made between Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, and then Lethbridge and Brandon, and those are places where we've seen the NDP win when they're competitive.
As for the candidates, Beck and Moe both downplayed any special focus on these seats.
I want to be the premier for all people in this province. Regardless, if we have that honor after October the 28th, regardless if people voted for us or not, our goal will be to work with all people in this province?
We've been to all the major centres and to a number of the rural centres in and around our major centres as well as we make our travels across the province. And I would say all 61 constituencies are of vital importance to this party and the 61 candidates that we have running.
Westlake and McIntosh say it's important to listen to the leaders' words, but just as important, they say, is watching where Moe and Beck choose to spend their last couple of weeks of the campaign. Jason Warwick, CBC News, North Battleford.
Now, voting day is October 28th, but we hope you'll join us here first for the leaders' debate on October 16th. That is next Wednesday. Carla Beck will face off against Scott Moe. You can watch it live here on CBC at 6:05 p.m. Regina is officially getting a new aquatic center. The pool was approved after several hours of debate at City Council Wednesday night. As Alexander Kwan reports, it's likely a tax increase will help pay for it.
The new pool will be built here at the old Taylor Field grounds. It's expected to cost about $245 million. Half of that will come from the city. The rest of it will come from the provincial and federal infrastructure grant. Despite the cost, people who use city pools say it's about time.
The Lawson has a reputation as being one of the worst pools in the swimming community.
The Lawson is nearly 50 years old, and it's had to be shut down temporarily due to a buildup of chlorine gas. City staff say the center will probably stay open for 5 more years before being torn down when the new aquatic center opens. A new indoor pool hasn't been built since the Sandra Schmirler Center opened in 1990. Now, 4 years after being elected on a campaign to replace the Lawson, Mayor Sandra Masters is heading into another election defending the cost of the project.
I can look back and be frustrated that, gosh, had it happened 8 years earlier, it would have been less expensive, but the reality is it doesn't get cheaper.
The facility was projected to cost $165 million when a preliminary budget was passed just last year. Now it's risen by $85 million. During debate, Councillor Lori Bresciani attempted to limit the scope of the project and keep the price down, but was unsuccessful.
City administration and the Community Advisory Committee have been at this for over 3 years. There has been substantial money spent already on a feasibility study for the current location, as well as on concept drawings for the current location. Please do not let all of this go to waste.
Most of the money that will pay for the pool will be financed through debt. That means a mill rate increase is expected, but it will be up to the new council to figure out how high the increase will be. Municipalities across the province head to the polls on November 13th, and construction on the aquatic center is expected to begin next year. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders, armed with some of their heeled-up fan favorites, are getting ready to host the BC Lions on Saturday. With a win, the Riders can sew up second place and a West semi-final home playoff game. The last time these two teams met in Vancouver, the Lions came out on top 35-20. But Vernon Adams was leading the charge then, and now it's Nathan Rourke. The Riders head coach says Rourke is a dangerous weapon.
You know, he found a way to get a win for them. But man, you know, he's still Nathan Rourke, so I know some people are trying to change the narrative a bit. It's not the case.
We all have to collapse the pocket on him. He's a guy that can move really well, and we know that. So we got to be consistent and sound about collapsing the pocket on him, keeping him corralled in there.
The Riders defense will have their hands full Saturday night as Rourke has one of the best pass catchers in the CFL. Former Rider Justin McInnes is currently the league leader in receiving yards, and Saturday night will be special for another reason. Darian Durant and Roy Shivers are in town for the Plaza of Honor. A special ceremony will induct them at halftime.
Feels good. It feels rewarding. I wish Danny was here to go in with me and my coaching staff because they did most of it. You know, one thing I knew about Saskatchewan, what I used to get from Don Matthews. It was like purgatory for him, you know what I mean? Because every time he cut somebody, he threatened to send them to Saskatchewan, you know. And I never could figure it out. But then I thought about it. I said, well, it's just like Green Bay. Town centers around the football team. Green Bay is the same way, you know. So what I like people to think is the guy who's an honest guy. He did the best job he could do.
So my first camp, you know, I just did everything I can to stand out, to show Coach Barrett and Roy that, you know, just if you just keep me around, you know, I'm a young guy, then maybe, you know, as I grow, I could have an opportunity. You know, as far as the city goes, I didn't know what to expect. Never heard of Regina. Coming in on the plane, you see, you know, the prairies, you don't see much, and then the city hits you and you see the stadium, that's all you see, you know, so you don't know what to expect. But once I got here and got settled and, you know, saw how important football was to this province, you know, whenever you can feel the entire province and everyone all in on the football organization, you want to be a part of that, because you know that if you can win and you have success, then you're probably in the best place to play. So that's the way I look at it.
3 weeks from today is Halloween, and some yards around Saskatoon are starting to show some spooky vibes, like this sandworm that's popped up from the Beetlejuice franchise. But first, Thanksgiving this coming weekend. Ethan will have your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, the political parties are busy trying to win your vote. And while we have heard a lot from the Sask party and the NDP, there are several other parties running candidates. Those include the Progressive Conservative Party, Saskatchewan United, and the Green Party, just to name a few. And Buffalo Party leader Phil Zajac sat down with Leisha Grabinski on Blue Sky earlier this week.
The True North document is a path for the future. And we proudly post those. We're the first political party that were signers on it. It's created with a little bit of a background of Confederation in the United States.
So you're the first political party to sign on to it, but who created the document?
It was created by a fella in BC, and I can't tell you the name of him right now.
A British Columbia resident.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's a thoughtful, intellectual person, and what that document does is we found out during COVID that our rights are not inalienable in Canada. The federal government can suspend Articles 1 and 33 at a moment's notice, and our freedom
Maybe
to
just tell people what Articles 1 and 33.
Free speech and ability to travel, right?
So you're referring to lockdowns during COVID,
right.
And that is something that your party has a policy on that you would never institute lockdowns.
No, because being able to move freely within your country and be able to speak your mind are two of the founding principles of a democracy. And we see this frequently now in Canada, those rights are being eroded, and the ability to share information is being eroded. And in a true democracy, you have to let people be free. And just because someone might not agree with me or my politics doesn't mean that their opinion and voice shouldn't be heard equally as well as mine. And the Buffalo Party will ensure that that never happens in Saskatchewan. We will never lock people down. We will never close people's businesses.
What other ideas would you have to prevent a virus from spreading? If we were ever to face another public health emergency, what would be your approach?
Well, number one, we would never lock anybody down. We would never close businesses. I think fundamentally it's wrong to close a business because you have employees to pay, and you have mortgages to pay, and you have bills to pay. And when you force a business, then people have spent their whole lives building this, and now you tell them that they cannot operate. How are they going to pay their bills, right? And if it's a 6-month lockdown or a 3-month lockdown, how do you survive, right? There was no plan to take care of people when that happened. And then the other thing too, Buffalo has passed a policy called "No One Left Alone."
And what is that?
Seniors, people in care homes, people in medical facilities who were ill were not allowed to see family members. And having visits from your family when you're ill or when you're near the end of life is one of the most important things for mental health. So the Buffalo Party has passed this very compassionate policy that says no matter what the pandemic of the day is, if you have a family member that is in a hospital or in a care home, no one can stop you from visiting them in person.
You can watch that full interview on our CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. In other news, Hurricane Milton is now heading out to sea, losing strength as it goes. It roared ashore near Sarasota on the Gulf Coast of Florida last night as a Category 3 hurricane tore across the state, and 6 people have died. Winds topped 200 kilometers per hour and more than 400 millimeters of rain fell in some areas, which did trigger flash flooding. The hurricane spawned dozens of tornadoes along its outer edges too, and millions of people have been left without power. Right now, the focus is search and rescue rather than cleanup. And despite the damage, officials say Florida avoided the worst case scenario. That said, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays looks like a shredded mess today. Tropicana Field was pummeled overnight by Milton. Located in St. Petersburg, the stadium was actually a staging ground for recovery crews during Hurricane Helene. Now it's a symbol of another hurricane's destruction.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Our greatest auto sale is on now.
Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. Just another fabulous day in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, another gorgeous day across, like you say, for all of us. We're talking about, the sunshine sticking around. We had some nice temperatures today, albeit a little cooler than yesterday, especially if you're in southern parts of the province. You noticed it is a bit chillier. Temperatures yesterday on the left, today on the right, and I'll step out of the way here so that you can see eastern sections where, we're a whole 10 degrees cooler than we were yesterday in places like Estevan and Yorkton. Southern Saskatchewan especially is where we've seen the cooler conditions. Less of a cool down as expected in central parts of the province. Kindersley, you really haven't noticed the temperature change. But with those little bit cooler temperatures today, some brisk northwesterly winds as well at times have been blowing, although those have started to diminish a bit. Earlier today, we had a little bit of shower activity moving through central parts of the province, but the clouds have cleared pretty nicely now for much of us. And through this afternoon and the evening hours, we are continuing to see those clouds clear away. But here's the thing. We have an area of high pressure moving in this time of year with clear skies. That means that our temperatures are probably going to drop overnight. Lots of us in south and central for the first time in a little while, probably near or a little bit below freezing overnight tonight. But then things change a little bit into tomorrow afternoon. We see that cloud cover move back in the later afternoon hours. A little bit of shower activity thanks to this developing low pressure system out of Alberta. It's going to move pretty quick though. And the rain showers should mostly be over by the time we get through the overnight hours. And then high pressure moves back in for Saturday, clearing things out. As we head through much of the Thanksgiving long weekend, actually, I think we'll continue to see nice sunny skies for the most part. Rainfall total is not going to be too significant from this next little system. Just a few millimeters here and there, mostly isolated to central Saskatchewan. Much of the south, as you can see, I think we'll generally be avoiding that. But the winds will pick up a little bit as we see that next area of low pressure begin to move in, especially into southwestern areas tomorrow afternoon, and then getting into Saturday. A bit of a breeze in southeastern sections, but nothing overly strong. Then we turn our attention to the temperatures because, again, the jet stream beginning to ridge here, some warmer air beginning to move in already over Alberta by Sunday, and I think by the holiday Monday, that'll begin to move our way, and temperatures will be on the rise. Until then, seasonal for Regina. A little bit breezy, as I say, on Saturday for the Rider game. We might dip below freezing again Saturday, possibly Sunday, but then look at that. Things picking up. Maybe another 20-degree temperature in there by the time we start the next work week. Debate day looking pretty nice too. For Saskatoon, we've got, again, pretty seasonal conditions over these next few days, very similar to what we're seeing in Regina. Chance of an overnight shower Friday into Saturday before things return to very nice conditions into next week. And still not a whole lot of temperatures below the freezing mark overnight, Sam.
I love it. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
A rare pastel work by Impressionist master Claude Monet has been returned to the descendants of its rightful owners more than 80 years after it was stolen by the Nazis. A Jewish couple stored it in a warehouse to be sent to them after they were forced to flee Austria in 1938. But the Monet and other artworks were seized by the Gestapo and vanished. The couple's granddaughters were reunited with the missing Monet this week. That after the people who bought it at an exhibit in 2016 realized it was listed by the FBI and returned. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. A Saskatoon man has created a card game that is injecting some fun into a fake funeral service. The game is called YouLogy, and this is the hearse that game creator Sean Barassa drives around the city to promote it. He says this game is similar to Cards Against Humanity. The loser has to perform a 3-minute eulogy for the group. That's where the game gets its name, and Barassa is a registered nurse by day, but by night, he's an amateur comedian. So what inspired him to create a game like this? Well, a few things.
People, that's like one of the number one questions I get asked, and I wish I had like a great answer, like a moment of brilliance. But honestly, I think it just comes from like a lifetime of playing games with my family. And then we have a big family, and my wife loves like Halloween horror kind of thing. And I've also kind of always thought like funerals are fun if you take away the actual sad part. You get together with all your friends and family, and there's stories being told. So I think that's kind of how it came to be. I'm not 100% sure.
Barassa says he's created more than 30 game prototypes that people have been playing. He's been self-funded until now, but says he has finally raised enough money to begin game production. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
I'll keep your eyes to the sky tonight because we have another solar storm, and already we are starting to see some amazing aurora out on the East Coast. That KP index all the way up to a level 7 or 8 out of 9 this evening. So likely going to be some pretty powerful aurora to be seen out there. But you'll need some gloves and a jacket. It's going to be a cold night. By tomorrow morning in Regina, we're looking at a temperature of just a degree, probably going to feel a bit below freezing with just a little bit of wind. But we warm up pretty quickly. By the noon hour, mostly sunny skies, 12 degrees. The winds will be picking up a little bit into the afternoon, but still not too bad. 8 a.m. in Saskatoon shows a temperature of at the freezing mark, and then we get into the afternoon with a temperature of 10 degrees. So a bit chilly, but worth it for those lights, I think, Sam.
So we'll find you standing in a dark field tonight.
Bundled up.
Bundled up. Okay, Ethan, thanks.
You're welcome.
And that is it for us tonight. For more on the provincial election campaign, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And do not forget to catch the Leaders Debate here on CBC on October 16th. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.